from the All Indiana Podcast Network.
It's time for real conversation about the real issues that affect our communities.
Poverty, education, equality, and more.
This is Real Talk.
Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network. I'm Reverend Charles Harrison, and on this episode, we will be talking to former Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard, who was mayor of the city from January 1st of 2008 to January 1st, 2016. And we have a lot to talk about, not just when he was mayor, but we're also going to talk about the mayoral race this year between Joe Hogsett and the Republican challenger, Jefferson Shreves. Welcome. This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison, and welcome today to the show. I have a very special guest today. We became friends years ago. It is the former mayor of Indianapolis, Mayor Greg Ballard, who served as mayor from January 1st, 2008 to January 1st, 2016. Mayor Ballard, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Well, it is so good to have you in the studio and for us to talk about, a lot of different things. I have to admit that when you won the first time, I was surprised.
You and lots of people. I wasn't.
You wasn't?
I was not surprised. I had lots of people whispering in my ear, lots of Democrats whispering in my ear, saying something like this: I've never voted for a Republican in my life.
Wow.
I'm voting for you. Well over 100 said that to me. Democrats said that to me. I knew something was up. It's just a matter, could I get it across the line? And I was very confident. 4 days before the election, I actually told somebody who became a really good friend and is probably the best lobbyist in the state of Indiana. A wonderful guy. Used to be a deputy mayor for Steve Goldsmith. 4 days before the election, I went to him. I said, "You're going to be the first call after the election." I mean, I was really confident that last week. I had no polling data. I mean, the other side was polling. I was not polling, but I was very confident because there was a feel in the city by that time that a change was imminent.
Well, I tell you, the feel was probably the weekend before the election. That's when there was a sense that something was going on in the city, because there was this urgent plea for the black church to get involved. But we decided not to get involved because we had a run-in with Mayor Peterson in his office, concerning the issue of crime and violence. But it was that weekend I started making phone calls, and I said, well, what's going on here? Because there's a sense and a panic within the Democratic Party that the mayor may lose. And that's when I knew something was going on, because there was a panic that weekend prior to that Tuesday election.
They had polling data.
Yeah, so that was why.
They had money to poll. I did not.
Yeah.
Mine was more of a feeling, but there were also some very visible signals, which is he went negative on me with about 9 to 10 days to go.
Wow.
You don't go negative on anybody if you're winning by 30 points.
Right.
So everybody who's in the game, if you will, knew that when he went negative on me with 9 or 10 days to go, that, something's up. And I knew something was up at that point in time also. So they had made some mistakes, and it wasn't just the mayor, to be frank with you. It was others in the party, in the Democratic Party, that made some mistakes. And it's kind of funny. I told my campaign manager, again, you have to understand, when I say campaign, now he had a campaign of dozens of people.
Yeah.
I had 2.5 men.
2.5 men.
It was me, my campaign manager, and a part-timer who was a full-time student at IUPUI, and he helped out part-time. It was 2.5 men. Didn't have Paula's handle us. I didn't have pollsters. I didn't have anything. It was me and John Cochran making this thing up as we went along. And literally, that was it.
So what made you want to run for mayor of Indianapolis?
A couple people early on, back in late 2006, said nobody on the Republican side is going to run. I knew why, but you have the skill set to do it. I didn't know anybody in the political world.
Okay.
I mean, I knew nobody on Democratic or Republican side. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know who the big law firms in the city were. I didn't know it was a blue city at that point in time. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that I wanted to get involved. I was thinking that after 23 years in the Marines, I still had some service to give, and I thought elected office might be a way to do that. In retrospect, that's kind of a silly way. I'm thinking of that when you have to go through the campaign and the process. But all that said, I kind of wanted to be a U.S. representative and didn't go in that direction. Then somewhere in 2006, these two gentlemen, only one was tangentially involved in politics. The other one was not in at all. But he said, you got the skill set to be the mayor. You need to look at this thing. Okay. And I did. And there's a whole hilarious story. I mean, I called up the Republican Party chairman at the time, a guy named Mac Murphy, nice guy. He didn't know who I was. I left a message. He called me back a week later. I was at the golf show at the convention center. He called me back, and he said, well, slating is tomorrow. I don't think there is slating anymore. I could be wrong. But slating is when all the party regulars get together and determine who they want to run for these offices, right? The precinct committeeman, the ward chairman, that sort of. He said, well, just come to that tomorrow. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So I don't know who any of these people are. I mean, you got to get this. I knew literally no one in that building when I walked in the next day. It was a freezing day in February, early February. I made up a one-page blurb about myself that I found it the other day, actually, and it was kind of silly and nonsense. No one would write it today, that's for sure. But I made 700 copies and put it on one on each chair and kind of introduced myself. Most of the people there were nice to me. They decided not to slate the mayor that day because they didn't really have the candidate that they wanted. I was certainly not the candidate they wanted because nobody there knew me. But they didn't have anybody kind of solid. They slated their council candidates and other offices and things like that. But they didn't do the mayor that day at all. But it was kind of funny. I did get interviewed on my TV station. And like I say, most of the people there were nice to me. The people who were not so nice to me actually were the party elected officials, the other elected officials. They were. Wow. One guy came up to me and, you have to understand I was mid-50s, early 50s, I can't remember. 23 years in the Marines, retired at lieutenant colonel, and a guy comes up to me and teaches me how to shake a hand, right? And one of the state office holders. I thought, God, really? Yeah. Really? So I had a lot of that stuff going on. And I got some snide looks from other people, like, who are you? Right. But most of the people there were actually kind of nice to me.
So what happened the night of the election and you won? Mm-hmm. How did the party respond to that?
That's a great point. I got a whole chapter in the book. The first chapter is called An Amazing Evening, actually. But, I mean, there's a lot that led up to that. Obviously. We can talk about that if you want to. But that evening, most people in the party did not think I was going to win. We had each party has a different place where they kind of congregate. The regulars congregate to either celebrate or lick their wounds, whichever it may be. And we were at the Murat Temple, at the old National Theater now, I think it's called, and in one of the rooms there. And there were going to be, maybe 70, 50 people or whatever it was going to be in there, right? And because at that point in time, the party really didn't think I was going to win. Most people in the city did not think I was going to win. But so there were a few people there. My mom was there. I remember that was pretty funny. She was there, and they gave me a little room because office holders and VIPs have a little room where you don't come out into the crowd and everything. That's nonsense. that doesn't apply to me at all. So, the people that were there were the ones who kind of did support me, along with the counselors. Council was up for election, too. And so I stayed in the main room. I didn't go into that separate room. That was silly to me. So I stayed in that main room and talked to people, was drinking Coke. And then at 6 o'clock, when the polls closed, and some numbers came out, everybody said, "Oh," because I was ahead. Right. I was ahead. And then as time went on a little bit, some people realized this, other people did not realize this. But the southern townships came in later than the other ones. The southern townships are Republican territory. Right. And I was leading before the southern townships came in. And so people who were paying attention knew I was going to win that election. Wow! Before other people did, and though I wasn't watching TV, I was just in that room talking to folks. But I know some people who were on the TV, being the commentators, if you will, the political commentators, and they all said the the Democratic commentary was like, I probably can't say it on there. I can't say it here, but I mean, they were like, "What? That's impossible. That cannot be."
Yeah.
But I remember Robert Rain was one of them. He said he told him early on. He says, "Ballard's going to win this thing. Look at the numbers and look which townships are not in yet.
Wow.
Ballard's going to win this thing." And they were like, "No, that can't be." But it was true, and it was 51-47. So it was quite the night, and because those 50 or 70 people turned into hundreds. Once people saw the polls, then all of a sudden Republicans who weren't going to come to the little celebration came on down.
Wow.
Because they knew, oh my God, this is going to be something.
Yeah.
And I think most people would still consider it the biggest upset in Indiana political history, certainly of recent political history, because it was shocking to a lot of people. Again, I was pretty confident that last week, and I think the other side knew they were in big trouble.
So what were you sensing that some of us did not sense about what was going on in the city, other than probably in September? Because I remember we had a meeting with the mayor, Mayor Peterson, in September, and it went bad. There was about 80 ministers in his office, in the conference room, and it didn't go well.
What do you mean by that?
There was,
if you could say,
there was a argument that took place between Bishop T. Garrett Benjamin and Mayor Peterson, and his comments to us was, "I'm a big boy now, and I don't need you."
Oh,
yes.
All right.
Yes. So the issue was over the violence, and we had made a proposal to him for $5 million crime prevention proposal strategy, which later became
I did that.
The crime for what you did.
It was 2.5.
Yes. So we made that proposal, and we got kind of off track because Bishop Benjamin didn't like the fact that they was building Lucas Oil Stadium. So the meeting kind of got off track. They got into a little argument, and it involved everybody. So it didn't end well. So it came across as the ministers are trying to extort the mayor for $5 million, and that didn't sit well at all because that was not the truth.
Yeah, that's I didn't know about that meeting. So but. For me, I didn't know about that.
Right.
I knew something else was up, though.
Right.
Because
one,
I don't know if you remember the bigger picture stuff that was going on. The property tax.
The property tax. I remember
huge.
that.
And it was if it was the first year for that, that's one thing. But this was the second time in 4 years this was happening, and so now people are mad. And even though mayors don't determine property tax, the mayors were running for office that year, and the state house was not.
Okay.
So the voters kind of took it out on the mayor. So no question that was a bit of a lead my way. But then they increased income taxes 65% 3 months before the election. Huge budget meeting. When the mayor presents the budget, that, which is a nominal meeting, nobody ever attends, it's just a formality, if you will, but this was not a formality because of everything that was going on. Everybody knew taxes were going from 1% to 1.65%, and people wanted to flood that meeting. I actually got into that council meeting.
Wow.
But there were lots of people who did not. And you have to remember the city county building at the time was never closed. It stayed open for the towing. There's a whole thing there, but it was always open, right? But it was 95 degrees out, hot. Lots of people wanted to get in the building, make their voices known. Some were in the building but shut out of the room. Others were shut out of the building. The council president decided to shut the building.
Wow.
95 degrees out. People really angry.
Wow.
And you know what? Thank you. What a wonderful gift. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
What a wonderful gift to me.
Yeah.
And so people were angry. I mean, that's the sort of thing that was going on. I knew that the crime was kind of rising a little bit.
Right.
And my sense was, when I would go around and talk to people, like I told you, they were whispering in my ear.
Right.
I'm never voted for a Republican in my life, but I'm voting for you. And like I say, well over 100 people said something like that to me. So I knew something was up. They wouldn't be saying that.
Right.
And I'm sure each one of those represented, 1,000 people or whatever. I had people knocking on doors for me that were not organized. I mean, they were just people who knew me or knew of me or something.
Wow.
They weren't organized by the Republican Party. They were just some neighborhood folks who started knocking on doors.
Wow.
I found this out after the election.
Wow.
That's what people. That was what was happening in the city.
Oh, wow.
And so people were angry. And Mayor Peterson, really a nice guy. Really nice guy.
He is.
The evening of the election, he called me up and graciously said, "I'll help you in any way I can."
Okay.
And he was very gracious about it. He was terrific about it all, right? But it was, but all the mistakes leading up to it. I told John Cochran, my campaign manager, I said, just don't let me make the big mistake on TV. Don't let me say something stupid on TV, because visually it lasts a lot longer than just orally, right? I mean, if you're doing a radio show, it doesn't have the impact as a TV show would, as a newscast would. So I said, don't let me make the big mistake on TV, which I hadn't at that point, and I didn't at all. And because if I didn't make that big mistake on TV in the last week, I thought I was going to win, and I did, and that's exactly what happened.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison, and today my special guest is former mayor of Indianapolis, Mayor Greg Ballard. Let's talk a little bit about then. How did you do your transition? I mean, were you preparing for that, the win, and then the transition, or just when you won, it was time to get to work?
You have to understand that most of the Republican Party, they may have wanted me to win, but they didn't really support me.
Okay.
All right. So they weren't really on board.
Okay.
I didn't get a dime from most people, the normal supporters. I mean,
they didn't give any money?
They didn't give any money.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
Mayor Peterson had $4 million with a month to go. I had $50,000.
Wow. Wow.
I eventually got money in the last couple of weeks because, like I say, people understood something's up. What's going on here? Maybe we can help him get across the line.
Right.
So some people gave, and I eventually got to around $200,000 cash or something. But
Okay.
again, against
Okay.
$4 million.
Okay. Yes.
$4 million.
Yes.
Right? So you have to get that part of it. And I spent that on I got commercials like the last 5 weeks, just stuff like that. So it's a whole story. You have to buy the book when it comes out.
Okay, I got to buy the book. Okay.
But, on the transition, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
Right. But I had a couple of people. One of them was that deputy mayor for Steve Goldsmith, Joe Loftus, wonderful guy. And then it's kind of funny, one of the big guys in the city, who I didn't know he was a big guy in the city, but he was Bob Grand, right?
Okay.
So how do I know Bob Grand? Now, Bob Grand in the political world is a huge name, not just in Indianapolis, but in the state of Indiana.
Right.
And he's supporting me. But why is he supporting me? Because I knew Bob Grand because our kids ran cross country together in high school.
Okay.
And I didn't know what he did for a living.
Yeah,
I had no idea who he was when I was running for mayor.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
All right. So between them, those two, and Melissa Prophet, who was terrific through it all, also, kind of like some of the leaders, if you will. Either that next Saturday or the second Saturday, I can't really remember. So we had a meeting at Barnes and Thornburg for the transition team.
Okay.
All right. Now, previous to that, this is not the first day after the election. The second day after the election, me and John Cochran and Joe Loftus are in the little office that I had in the Republican County headquarters downtown at 120 East Vermont. And John, I'm talking to John. I said, John, we got to figure out the transition. I don't know how we're going to do this. We've never done this before, but we just won this election. Surely we can figure out the transition.
Right.
And John is a wonderful guy now, but he's a nervous guy sometimes. And so his right knee, I think it was his right knee, not his left knee. I think it was his right knee. It's just pumping up and down, right? You know, a nervous guy just pumps up and down. And goes, So he's talking to this, and John's like, I can see on his face, like, what's going on here? And I thought, John just figured this out. And after about 5 minutes of me and John kind of jawing back and forth a little bit, kind of having fun, not fun, but I mean, like, we're both kind of nervous, Joe Loftus pulls out his briefcase, opens it up, and he says, in only the way that he could, very droll, says, "If I may," and he pulls out a pamphlet, probably 50 pages, of the transition plan.
Wow.
The entire transition plan.
Wow.
He had done in detail.
Wow.
And this is the second day after the election. So then, like I said, the next Saturday or the Saturday after that, in the Barnes and Thornburg headquarters downtown, Reverend, I'm not kidding you, 200 people showed up, former department heads, former deputy mayors, highest end lawyers in the city.
Wow.
Showed up
wow.
to be part of the transition team.
Wow.
The highest quality people you could possibly imagine. 200 of them.
Wow.
Showed up, and we had a classic transition. They gave me binders full, probably 12 feet full of binders of each department. It was unbelievable. It was what they did for me and for the city was unbelievable. The highest quality people you could imagine, 200 of them working on my behalf and on the city's behalf to help me transition in. And so Bob and Joe and Melissa and a few others brought in people to come interview me. Now, if a job interview, they might have 5 people or 10 people, whatever, and you kind of whittle it down to the one you want. They gave me one person each for each job because you only got a month and a half.
Wow.
You only got a month and a half to go, right?
Yeah.
And out of everybody they brought in, pretty high quality folks, to say the least. A lot of them from Mitch Daniels. He was the governor at the time. A lot of them from Mitch Daniels' team. One I thought would not be a good fit. One declined the job.
Okay.
We filled those 2 positions in an otherwise manner, and then we went on. And everybody knows my team was unbelievable. They were, look what they're doing now.
Yes.
They're all over the city. They're leading state organizations like the Civil Rights Commission, the Sports Corp, now the IEDC. I had 2 guys at number 2 there. Now the guy leading the Economic Development Corporation was started as an intern in our office.
Wow.
And great guy, David Rosenberg. Just all these people that I had working on our team. Mike Huber was the chamber president. I mean, these are the people that I had, and everybody wanted them after I left office. That's the quality of people that we had.
You did have a lot of quality people.
I had a lot of quality people, and they really helped the city of Indianapolis. And that was the whole intent, right? I told them, and I told every one of them in the interview, I said, if you're doing this for me or you're doing this for the party, we are not going to get along. If you're not, you have to be doing this for the long-term health of the city of Indianapolis. Otherwise, we're not going to get along.
You know, I don't think me and you have ever had this conversation before, but maybe 2 or 3 days after you were elected, I got a phone call from a Republican, and they were asking me about who did I think would be a good choice for a deputy mayor for you, African American. And then they were throwing out names, and I said, well, you know, of all the names you've thrown out, I think Olgin Williams would be a great deputy mayor. And it was John Hall, who used to be the deputy mayor for Mayor Goldsmith. So he called me, and I didn't know you. I just know you won.
Well, I had talked to Olgin before the election.
Okay.
That was one of the people I was told to go talk to, and I did.
Yes.
Very gracious, but he was like, love talking to you. I know you're not going to win, right?
Yeah.
But he was very gracious about it all. But he was the obvious choice. So I'm glad you put in there.
Yeah.
And as you know, I had a group of African American men and women that I talked to every quarter.
I know.
I did that all 8 years,
and
they gave me great guidance.
Right.
So I think I kind of had my pulse on that community throughout all 8 years. Not to mention the mayor's night out.
Right. Yes.
So did all those things. So we kind of kept our ear to the ground, talked to a lot of different people to make sure we were listening well, and I think that's what our administration did really, really well, was to listen. So, but Olgin, all 8 years, I had breakfast with him. I don't know, 2 months ago.
2 months ago, yeah.
Him and Dave Sherman always seem to come together. My old public works guy. Those 2 always seem to come together and have breakfast with me. And we try to get Greg Wilson in there, but he's actually working still.
Yeah, he's still working. Yeah, he's still working.
Sometimes he gets in there, sometimes not.
Well, talk a little bit about some of the challenges, the success. You know, what does a mayor have to do, and what are some of the challenges of a mayor of a city this size?
Well, obviously, public safety is a part of it, and I want to make sure, because I feel very strongly the public safety director is a key position.
Okay.
And I think every city needs one, because you need somebody who's thinking of public safety 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And so that was, Mayor Peterson had one. I'm not sure he had the, I don't know if I'm going to say gravitas, or he had the ability to do what needed to be done. But
right.
I told people, I didn't mean it derogatorily, but I said I didn't want a figurehead. I want a general in there. So we started with Scott Newman, obviously, Frank Straub, and Troy Riggs, all nationally known people, really strong people in that public safety director's job, which I think is so important, because the police chief is not the public safety director.
Right.
He can't do that. He's running an organization. He's got law enforcement responsibilities, but there's more to public safety than law enforcement.
Right.
There's a lot more. The mayor can't do it because he's kissing babies and cutting ribbons, and he's doing all those other things.
Right.
Plus, worry about infrastructure and parks and things like that. So So public safety is, and I said in my what I call the Ballard rules, public safety was job one, and I meant that. I meant that sincerely, and I think you could see that. But infrastructure is a big part of it, obviously.
Okay.
The budget's a big part of it. You got to make sure you got the money to do. We didn't. This is one of the things people don't talk about, but we were in the recession, what they called the Great Recession.
Right.
But in my 8 years, we took the debt down 2/3 from $330 million to $110 million. Nobody ever talks about that.
Wow.
But that was a big deal.
Okay.
For the citizens of Indianapolis. And kept, if we weren't balanced on the budget, I think most of the budgets were balanced, but they were certainly close enough to make sure we could get it by on an annual basis, and it was fine. So we didn't really balloon anything up.
Right.
We cut the debt by 2/3, which I think kept it in good stead. So, we did a lot of economic development. It was during the recession. We took a little bit of risk, certainly on Cityway. Cityway was a real risk. Lilly wanted it though. And I think they were going to back us in that way. But one of the great things we did was with the Rebuild Indy money, when we got that passed, we kept a lot of construction firms, we kept a lot of architectural firms, engineering firms going, because the recession killed a lot of businesses across the country.
That's true.
Not necessarily here, because we had people working all the time because the Rebuild Indy money allowed us to do that. And these economic development things came along. Most of them were solid financing. Cityway we were a little scared. I certainly was a little scared, but I said yes to that, and that turned out to be a big hit. Obviously, now Cityway 2 has worked. Cityway down there by just south of Gainbridge Fieldhouse now, with the Ursay YMCA and all that. I mean, that was a risky endeavor, frankly. But it turned out great. So I'm very happy about that. And people forget the financial times. I mean, the Great Recession put a damper on lots of things across the country. We never laid anybody off in the city. We didn't necessarily hire people when others left, but we didn't. Other cities were laying people off. We didn't do any of that. We didn't do any of that at all. And like I said, we kept a lot of businesses going during the Great Recession. So there's a lot to it. It's kind of funny. I always tell people every hour in the mayor's office is a completely different subject.
Really?
It really is. I mean, you're talking about this business over here, and then you're talking about these roads, and then you're talking about the public safety, what's going on there, and then you're talking about the budget. Oh God, are we going to make the budget this year? I mean, every hour is completely different. And you just got to have really good people. And to this day, I would say that if you ask my team, even right now, what was the best thing about me, it was that I was not a micromanager, that I let them do their thing. So we always had, where one mayor might have one thing going on because everything has to go through him and it has to be his idea and everything. Right. That's not the way I did business. That is not. So we had 10 things going on all the time because they did not have to be my ideas. We had a team that vetted them to make sure they're right, but everything didn't have to come through me. Right. And so we had lots of things going on, and my team had lots of ability to act on their own without me hovering over them, which I think is, the more I'm out of office, the more I realize how odd that is, how different that is. It's a different way of governing, and I think that's what we did.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison, and my guest is former Mayor Greg Ballard of Indianapolis. Let's talk about what a lot of cities are really struggling with right now, and certainly Indianapolis is one of those cities. The challenges of public safety in a large urban area like Indianapolis. And why are cities struggling? What are the challenges? And I mean, you were around for 8 years, so certainly you understand what those challenges are. And I think you was a part of a national group that was also trying to deal with those challenges, particularly of urban violence.
Yeah, I was actually on President Obama's advisory board. I was the only Republican mayor on that board.
You was the only one on there.
Then he asked me up there a few times, too. One time he had 18 mayors in there. I was the only Republican mayor. Wow. And he sat me right across from him, like from you to me. Yes. This was me and President Obama. Yes. And he said at the beginning of the meeting, I want to hear from this guy, and Greg. Yeah. And then the rest of you can talk later. Okay. But he knew me pretty well. He asked me to introduce him at Ivy Tech. I don't know if you remember that or not. Yes. And I remember that phone call. He didn't call me. He had a guy call me, but and he said, he wants you to introduce him. And I said, you're going to upset every Democrat in the city. Yeah. And he said, don't worry, we already have. So, but President Obama was focused on the right things, and he had his hand on this public safety, and particularly on young black men, as you do, right? As you do. Yes. So to try to do the best we can for them, to let them live a nice life. And it's hard to do. The Mayor's Night Out was really important to us.
Okay.
The group that we talked about earlier of black men and women that we met with quarterly was very important to me. Also, to keep a pulse on that. But there's so much to do on that. And again, I hate to keep referencing the book because it's not even published yet.
Right.
But there's certain things. The public safety director, I think, is the key point.
It's the key point. Okay.
Somebody has to focus on this 24 hours a day. Somebody has to get this 24 hours a day because you have a parks director, you have a DMD director.
Right.
How do you not have a public safety director? We're the most important thing out there, right? So you got to have that. I think that was key. I think relationships with groups like yours, with the 10 Point, whose ear is to the ground, you see what's happening, and taking that advice. You give me lots of advice. We stopped a lot of stuff because of what you guys told us.
Right.
So that was very important to us. There's also a sense it's kind of hard to verbalize, but you want to do the right thing, and you don't want to come down too heavy. As you know, with the police, sometimes it gets a little too heavy-handed. No question about that.
Right.
But there's also a sense, and I'm afraid that sometimes the Democrats believe that some of these communities do not want the police in there and do not want an orderly community. But they do.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Want to,
yes,
they want to walk down the street.
Yeah, yes,
right?
yes.
They do, and they're willing to put up with a little to do that, just like everybody else does.
Right.
But if you just kind of let it go, then that becomes an unsafe place, and then nobody wants to live in an unsafe place.
Right.
So there's a balance in there that you're trying to reach, and of course, because humans are involved, both police and non-police, neighbors, whatever. I mean, everybody's human, so everybody's going to react differently to different stimuli. So you have to be aware of that. But I always thought the main thing was to maintain the safety of an area, safety of a neighborhood. And I thought that was the baseline.
Right. Okay.
That was not. Okay. That was not the goal. That was the baseline.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted people to live their life, to thrive, to get good jobs, to raise their kids, and everything else. But the baseline is, it has to be a safe place, and we took that to heart. So we, whatever other people may say, or they say, well, we don't want this, and we don't want to see the police over here. We don't want these groups in here. And we don't want all that. Well, wait a minute here. Everybody wants a safe place to live.
Right.
I think that's the baseline, and I think we held to that. And I don't think we overstepped our bounds on that. Sometimes there were some individual activities that went overboard, no question about that. But just systemically, I don't think we did that at all. And I think people appreciated the fact that we tried to make it a stable community throughout the entire city, in every neighborhood. And if you went to the Mayor's Night Out, I think you got a sense of that also. I certainly got a sense of that they appreciated the fact that we were there, and that we wanted to make everybody stable and do the best that we could for everybody. You can't do it all, obviously, but I think we had a good sense of it. We paved neighborhoods. Rebuilding and paved a lot of roads. But when I repaved Birdsall Parkway, oh my God, I can't believe the comments. They said nobody's touched that street in 50 years.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we normally don't get them touched.
But we did. We obviously did a repaving a lot of the communities throughout the city. And but Birdsall Parkway, that just touched a nerve, and that really, thank you. And so
you were pretty popular in the Riverside area because you paved the parking lot, the roads. Yes,
and I grew up in that area.
Oh, you did?
I played baseball there.
Okay.
And I played PAL baseball.
Wow.
I loved the Riverside area. I did, and it was a lot of fun. When I played baseball at Cathedral, those were our home fields. Right. Riverside Park.
Right. So, let's talk about the Super Bowl. That was one of the highlights, I think, and I got a chance to participate in that. But the role of the mayor's office in the Super Bowl and how well it went off, and as I recall, the weather was good that year.
A funny story there. I'll tell you how it started, though.
Okay.
I'm the new mayor, right? Now, the previous mayor and his team had put in a bid, and a really good bid.
They did, okay.
A really good bid.
Right.
They did a wonderful job with it. But Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys owner, threw money at the last second, and so Indianapolis did not get that bid, even though I think they were the odds-on favorite. So I'm the new mayor, and I assume everybody's assuming that I am not going to do anything because I got other things on my mind besides going for a Super Bowl. But actually, in January, my first month in office, I called Jim Irsay up, and I had never met Jim Irsay, and I called him up. I said, "Do you want to go for a Super Bowl?" I kind of do. I said, "I think the iron." My sense was, I can't remember if I said the words, but my sense was, the iron is hot.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You have to understand who the audience is. The audience is not the NFL staff. It's not the public. The audience is 32 billionaires.
Wow.
That's who's voting on this, right?
Okay.
And so it's a tight group. They all know each other real well. But my sense of this was the iron is hot. Maybe we should do this again. He said, fine. We'll do this again. I called up Mark Miles, and I said, will you do this? Now, I met Mark once. Again, nice guy. He was great to me while I was running for office, but he didn't think I was going to win either.
Okay.
Yeah,
you didn't have many people think you're going to win.
So all this is going on.
Yeah.
So, but I also knew that he ran the men's professional tennis tour for 15 years.
Right.
And so he had a sense of high-level sports. And so I called him up. I said, I'm going to do this. Will you chair the effort to get the Super Bowl? And he said yes. And so he became the chair, and then he asked me, can Allison do this? Can Allison be the president and chief executive officer? Can she run this thing on a day-to-day basis? Allison, who is now legendary in the area in central Indiana, at the time was always like the second person doing this and kind of behind the scenes, stunningly efficient, already had Emmys for her awards for sports stuff with the Olympics through gymnastics. And Mark said, "Can you mind if Allison does?" I said, "Fine, fine."
Right.
I'm not sure I'd met Allison to this point. I think I probably had, but great. So I looked at them, and then I kind of got out of the way.
Really?
Kind of got out of the way.
Okay.
So the bid was already good. They made it better. Mark
Okay.
had an idea. Mark always has a feeling, and I think that's the feeling in the city, generally speaking.
Right.
That when you bring in these things like the Super Bowl or the Final Four or these championships or whatever, it has to be about more than the game.
Okay.
It's not about the game. It's about how we can leverage the game to do better in our community.
Okay.
That's how Mark Miles feels about all this stuff. So you got to get that.
Okay.
So our legacy project, every city has to have a legacy project as part of hosting a Super Bowl.
Right.
Most cities start their legacy projects after the game. Our legacy project was done before the game.
Wow.
The only city ever do that.
Wow.
So that's what we're doing. So Mark kind of is chairing it. Allison, they're putting the bid together. Great bid. I'm sitting in my office. They don't allow. The reason I had to step back a little bit is the NFL doesn't want to hear people like me. They don't want to hear politicians.
Okay.
They don't let them in the bid process. You can't go down to the site where they're voting on it. You're not allowed.
Wow.
Literally not allowed. And certainly don't want to hear from you either. So I'm in my office with the late great Matt Tully, who wanted to be there when I found out whether we got it or not.
Oh yeah, yes.
And so it's just me and him in the office, and I'm kind of waiting on a text from Mark.
Right.
He just texts me 2 words. I assume I still got it on there. I'd have to go back years, but he just 2 words, got it.
Wow.
And that's all he said. And then I said, Matt, we got it. And I think Matt thought I was going to explode. I said, okay. And then I said, okay, I got another business to get to. So.
Right.
But we got it. So, but that was. But we did that differently.
Wow.
We had the money up front.
Wow.
Which other cities don't do. We got the legacy project done before the game. Other cities started after the game. We did it completely differently. We planted trees. We had the super baskets of hope. We did breast cancer research. Particularly of women of color.
Right.
We did all of those things. My wife was involved, right?
Okay.
And my wife was one of the donors. We just did it differently than other cities did. And that was a big part. We even did the entrance point. When I went to the previous 4 Super Bowls, you always have to go to the Super Bowls. I always joke, you got to go see how they do business so you can bring it back home. Well, it's pretty nice watching the games too, right?
Yes.
So I'd been to the previous 4 Super Bowls, and it always took 2 hours to get in, right?
Wow.
Line of security. It took 15 minutes in Indianapolis to get in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
We just did it differently. And we did it well. And we're the model. No other city in the country ever had a village, a Super Bowl village like we had on Georgia Street. No one ever had that. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
It came from Allison.
Wow.
who was out all these Olympics, and there's an Olympic village.
Yeah, okay,
so
that's true.
We had a Super Bowl village. 1.1 million people flowed through there in the 10 days.
Wow.
No crime other than a couple of pickpockets.
Yeah.
No crime at all.
Yeah.
And people openly drinking beer throughout the whole thing. And it was peaceful. People loved it. I know you put out the word on no activity.
Yeah, we put out the word. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we worked down there too during the Super Bowl. So we got a lot of questions from people, guests in the city about where to go. So I think they thought we was working for the city, the Super Bowl, and directed traffic.
I put that in the book too. That you told people not to, young people on the street don't. And we had a murder, I think, the day after the Super Bowl.
Yes,
but we didn't have anything during the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so it's major activities. First one was social media center, and the village was so much fun. I couldn't go through there past Wednesday because it was just everybody wanted a picture. I literally couldn't move. I mean, I really could not move.
Wow.
Because people were flowing. I wasn't flowing. I would be standing still, and I couldn't get from one block to another. Literally, I couldn't do it because I wasn't going to say no to the picture.
Yeah, you weren't going to.
So because the this is their moment of the Super Bowl, and
right.
It kind of represented that a little bit. So I'm not going to say no to this, right? But I just couldn't move. So, but it was so much fun, and it was a fun time for the city. But we did it different. We did it the Indianapolis way, and it was a great game, obviously. So it brought a lot of revenue to the city, brought a lot of visibility to the city. And I was warned ahead of time. Don't think that other things are going to happen because you got the Super Bowl. We're not going to get more conventions. We're not going to do that. So don't think that's going to happen. It'll have an impact.
Okay.
However, ours did have an impact because we built the JW Marriott with the Super Bowl. That was part of the bid. Actually, it had to be built for part of the bid. We had 1,100 more conventions calling Visit Indy.
Wow!
Right after the Super Bowl.
Wow!
1,100 like over the next year. I mean, it did make a difference in that way. It was warned, don't get excited. It's probably not going to do that sort of thing. But for us, it did. We did it differently.
Okay.
And the advertisers figure out good comments, bad comments, or whatever. You just won't believe this. This is staggering. The positive comments were 99.7%.
Really?
Neutral were 0.3%.
Wow.
No bad comments.
Wow.
About the city.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
That's staggering.
It is staggering.
And people put dollar figures on that, and it was a big number too.
So how do you, when you look back on your 8 years as the mayor of Indianapolis, how do you view it? I
view it as, the greatest. I got a lot of good compliments. One, I'll give you two of them. Right?
Okay.
One was an ex-offender, worked for Recycle Forces, Butler University, and this is a comment that always stuck with me. And I would usually go out there with Greg Kiesling and his team at Recycle Force. And he came up to me and he says, Mayor, you're the only guy who ever cared for us. I thought, wow, you're the only mayor who ever cared for us.
Right.
Not necessarily true, but the fact that he said that, where he said it and at the way he said it, I thought, wow, I guess we are getting through. So that was a big deal. And to me, that we were touching people that maybe people with an R behind the name don't necessarily touch all the time, right? And so we were touching people, and we were in the community, right? The other one was actually a former guy who worked for AT&T 5 months after I was out of office. I remember I was at the Speedway, and he said, Mayor, when you were in office, the last 3 or 4 years, everything was working in the city. He said we were moving forward on all the fronts. We had a lot of national notoriety. We were getting a lot of events. The economic numbers were good. Businesses were coming in. As you know, we had the homicide numbers down below 90, below 100.
Right.
We had below 100, right? Until the council started taking away the crime prevention money.
Yes.
They took it away from us, and now all of a sudden,
that's true.
we had it working, right?
That's true.
Until the council went Democrat and started switching up a little bit. And because we were on a roll there, as you well know.
We were.
And
we were going. The next year we were going to try to get it below 90. We thought we could.
Yeah, we thought. Yeah. Then, but the crime prevention money went to different places.
Right. It did.
And so. So all that said, I mean, it is what it is. But people were happy when I left. I think people were happy in the city. They thought things were going well. Everything was kind of working. Everybody had a shot. I think Greg Wilson did a great job of creating a level playing field for women and minority-owned businesses. Everybody kind of had a shot to succeed in the city. And I thought it was going really, really well. And so I thought, that's why I was tired anyway. I think I told you. I told others. I was physically and mentally exhausted, and I just had to move on. And my numbers were great.
Right.
Numbers were very high. And re-election looked pretty easy if I just did the normal things. But I didn't feel like I could be all in again for another 4 years. I just didn't think I could do it, and the citizens deserve that. But I didn't think I could do that for another 4 years.
Can Republicans win in urban cities?
Not right now. Not with what they're doing.
Okay.
I mean, Indianapolis might be an exception. I think Jefferson's still in the game here, from what I understand, and so here's a little bit different. But generally speaking, Republican. At the U.S. Conference of Mayors after the 2012 presidential election, the Republican National Committee comes down to us, the Republican mayors, and our caucus at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and they explain why Romney lost to Barack Obama, right? And it was clear to us that the RNC had no clue about minorities in cities.
Right.
It was. I suggest that the main feeling that we had was anger.
Wow.
Because they just didn't get it. Two people went up to the RNC while I was in office, because at the time Indianapolis was the largest city in the nation with a Republican mayor.
Okay.
Went up to the RNC and said, "You need to go talk to Ballard. He's winning in a blue city.
Right.
He's winning easily.
Right.
And people like him.
Right.
And RNC said, no, we don't want to go talk to him.
Really?
They didn't want to go talk to him. So I'm out of office for 2 years, and a lady from the RNC calls and says, I'd like to come down and talk to you. This is now our effort to finally start to learn about people in urban settings. I said, great, I'm happy to talk to you. She comes down, I talk to her. 6 months later, she's no longer working for the RNC. Never heard from her again.
Wow.
But Republicans don't understand, generally speaking, urban people. They just don't get it. They just don't understand how they feel about things. They certainly don't understand the feelings of many ethnic minorities. They don't understand how they feel about environmental issues, sustainability issues. They don't understand the necessity for mass transit, helping people get to work, and also while attracting talent. They don't understand anything about attracting talent and creating a quality life. You just don't get that part of it. So then it's all taxes and finances and put the bad guys in jail, which may or may not be the right thing to do. Right? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, and there's a difference there,
Yes.
And generally speaking, I hate to say this about my own party, but they don't get it. They don't get that part of it. I was lucky that I had so many good people around me who, I think I knew it anyway from the Marine Corps, right? I mean, we always, in the Marine Corps, everybody kind of works together, right? We don't really look at things that political forces do, like races and things like that. We just kind of all work together. We know that this guy's a black guy and this guy's a white guy and this guy's, I mean, we get that, but we're all green, right? We're all green, and we kind of all work together. Generally, that's how it is, and so I'm used to that, and so I fit in well. Plus, my wife was, Filipino, and so when we would walk into anywhere, it didn't matter what group it was. We were well received. We were well received. We really were. And we would walk in on black family reunions.
Wow.
And we were just received, right? And they didn't even know we were coming sometimes. Somebody said, hey, about this, and we went over there. I went to a Chinese business group, midnight. They meet at midnight.
Wow.
Because they're working so hard at their businesses. I was still in a tux from another guy, but I'm there with, when my wife comes in. You're like, oh, okay, this is good. All right. So we were accepted everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And it made a big difference. And I think I grew up in Indianapolis. I kind of understand it a little bit. But when I was the mayor, I had a much wider view of the world when I became the mayor, from traveling around the world in the Marines and fighting wars and things like that. But the cities are different than suburban or farms or rural areas, and the Republicans have trouble understanding that.
So what can be done to help with that?
Well, I really think it's on our party. I don't think it's necessarily on any of the citizens of the cities. I mean, we always, if you watch some of the TV shows, I can't really watch TV news anymore. It just drives me nuts. Both sides. I'll read it, but I won't watch it because it just drives me nuts. But they always complain about Democratic mayors, and can you believe what they're doing in their cities, and letting them tear it down and all this other stuff. My feeling is that's the wrong question. That's the wrong question for a Republican.
Right.
The question should be, why is there not a Republican mayor? Not why is this Democratic mayor allowing this to happen? The question should be, why is there not a Republican mayor? That's what the Republican Party needs to be asking.
Okay.
But it's going to be difficult because so much what I would call Republican ideology does not fit into cities, and some of their ideological positions are just the opposite of what people in urban settings want.
So what are you going to do the rest of your life? You think about getting in politics again, or what are you going to do?
I get asked that all the time.
Okay.
I've actually been asked to run for governor.
You run for governor?
U.S. Senate, U.S. Representative.
Yeah.
I am still looking at, I'm getting older, though. You got to get that.
Right.
And I do think it's kind of time for a new generation to step forward, and they don't seem to be doing it at the level that I want. Certainly not the people that I want. So I may look at that, but I work with a group up in Minneapolis, the McKnight Foundation, on the Climate Advisory Board.
Okay.
I'm talking to you about something that we may want to be doing in the near future.
Yes. Talk about it in the near future. Yes.
I just talked to a local law firm. If I can start doing some consulting with municipal government and things like that. I just did that they've been asking me for 6 years, and I finally met with them last week. And I said, and I said, I think I'm ready to go.
Okay.
6 years out of office. So, but they're great. So I'm thinking about that. I'm doing a lot of writing. I'm doing a lot of reading, I got several books in the works, and I'm enjoying it, right?
Okay.
I'm just enjoying it right now, but I still want to make an impact. I still want to do something.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today on Real Talk. I'm Rev Charles Harrison, and this has been Real Talk. Join me next time as I bring you more Real Talk about the real issues that affect our community here in Indianapolis and across the country. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast, and be sure to share it on Facebook and Twitter. I want to thank Mayor Ballard again for joining me. Thank you so much, and I pray that you have a blessed and an awesome day.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast.
And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Online now at allindianapodcast.com.